Hi there, welcome to my channel. In today's video, we're going to talk about how to sew over thick seams easily with your sewing machine. Okay, so as an example for this video, I'm going to be using this pair of jeans just because jeans are something where you are really likely to run across this problem where you are just sewing along and then you come to where the thick seam is and then your machine just doesn't want to go over it and you end up with some wonky stitching right at the seam as you try to get the needle and the presser foot to go up over that seam. So these jeans, as you can see, I've actually already kind of cut them apart and used them for other things because they're really worn out. So just using the denim for other things, but I thought it would still be a good example because hemming jeans is definitely a place where you might run across this problem. Now to sew over a thick seam, you're going to need one of two things. So you have two options here. If your machine came with one of these, this is a hump jumper, which basically raises your presser foot so that it can get up over that seam more easily, then you can use this, and I'll show you how to use that. And you could also purchase one online or at a craft store or whatever if your machine didn't come with one. Or if you don't have one and don't feel like getting one, sometimes what I do is just use a piece of scrap fabric left over from another project, and then I'll just fold it up to get the right height that I need. And then I'll put that under my presser foot to raise it so that it can get over that seam more easily. So it does the exact same thing as this plastic piece, but it's just a more cheap method of doing it if you don't already have one of these. So let's go to the machine and I'll show you how to sew over a thick seam using either of these methods. Alrighty, so I'm here at the machine and I've got my jeans here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to fold this up so it would be just like you were hemming this pair of jeans. And then we're just going to sew across this until we get to this seam here, and then I'll show you how you can get over that seam using the hump jumper. So let's get started. Let's get it under the presser foot. And then we're just going to go along. And then as it starts going up onto that seam, you can stop it with the needle down, then raise the presser foot. And then you see this hump jumper here, it has a thinner side and a thicker side, so you can choose whichever side gets the presser foot most even with that seam. So it just gives you different options depending on the thickness that you're trying to go through. So I think for this, let's see, I like the thinner side there. So then you just place it with the presser foot up, place it through the back, and then just put the presser foot down so that it is down on the plastic there. So there's a channel where the needle can go through, but on either side is the plastic that is holding that presser foot up. Once you get off the other side, leave your needle down, lift the presser foot, and then you can take the hump jumper up. And then put it back down, and then you can just continue on. Let's see what this looks like. So you see how nice that looks? There's no tight, weird, wonky stitching going over that seam. It just raised that presser foot enough that it could maintain a nice straight line of stitching. So that is a great way to get over a thick seam without getting any wonky stitching. So now I'm going to show you how to do the same thing, only using the bargain method of using a piece of scrap fabric. Alright, so we're going to deal with the other leg here for this example. So folding it under just like I did with the other one. And I'm going to start just a little bit in advance of this seam. Alright, so we're getting into that seam and our presser foot is starting to get so that it's at an angle. So leaving the needle down, I'm going to raise the presser foot. Then I'm going to grab my scrap fabric, and you just want to fold it enough times that when you place it under the back of the presser foot, that it keeps your presser foot laying flat so that it's not at an uphill angle anymore. So I'm going to add another fold to that and see how that looks. So you just want to keep folding and refolding until you get the amount of folds that keeps your presser foot as straight as possible. So that looks pretty good. So I've placed the scrap fabric under the back of the presser foot and then put the presser foot down on top of it so that it's laying flat. My scrap fabric is going up to the needle but not beyond it. And then I'm just going to go across that seam. So there we go. We can pull off our scrap fabric. That just kept the back of our presser foot up on an even plane. There we go. So once again, nice even stitching. You can see that method does just as good a job as the hump jumper here. So it's totally up to you what method you want to use. I mean, this is definitely going to be easier and quicker because you can just pull it out from in your machine storage area. But if you don't have one, then you'd have to purchase one, whereas with the scrap fabric, you should just have some scrap fabric available from previous projects that you can just easily fold up and use. So that is how I go about sewing over thick seams without getting any wonky stitching. So I hope that helped you, and I will see you in the next video.